SoulTrapper by Firebrand. My daughter has been acting dangerously weird since the day I got her that Clefairy Pokédoll. She developed an interest in copying others' movements, looks, and speech. She started to do this publicly, replicating strangers, which I'm highly against. However, she ignores me and eventually obtained the nickname Copycat. Yes, most of you know her for generously giving away magnet train tickets by finding her precious dolls. I was a fool back then, falling for her innocence. I know her real secret, the dark secret that lies in the heart of her and every single one of her Pokédolls. It all started about 2 months after Copycat excelled her interest in duplicating people. I remember her exact schedule. She would eat her cereal quietly in the morning, go to school, and when she came back, a new Pokédoll was in her hands. Copycat would rush to her room after school and supposedly play with her Pokédolls all day, only returning for dinner. My wife and I grew worried for her. We loved her deeply and thought that something must have happened to her. She used to be a peaceful, gentle soul that was outgoing and kind, but she turned into an outcast. She remained only to talk to others when she copied them. One night, I sneaked up into her room, most likely out of interest. Copycat wasn't in her room, bed, or playing with her Pokédolls. I tilted my head in confusion as I walked in the direction of her doll shelf. I glanced at each one of her Pokédolls in the collection. She had a Clefairy, of course, a Pikachu, a Jigglypuff, and a doll I only know of as Red. At the time, I didn't know who he was, however, I assumed he might be a secret friend perhaps. I made my way over to her opened closet, and saw that the ladder to the attic was opened. I climbed the ladder desperately. Now I was panicking, hoping my dear daughter was okay. I was shocked at the result I saw. Copycat had a tail that appeared to be Mew's tail. The scariest part was she had the familiar huge blue eyes of the legendary as well. It was a fierce blue that had strings of moonlight across the pupils. She was sewing a Nurse Joy doll, and was covered in plush, fluff, and sweat. "Copycat, what are you doing?" I exclaimed with a few shuddering words. Copycat turned and looked at me with those dark blue eyes filled with misery. Never have I felt so much excitement. Her silk brown hair was now in a messy mop. She had dust on her cheeks and had a few scratches that were slightly bleeding. She looked power-hungry, filled with desperation like the devil possessed her himself. My eyes began to water, but I stopped in mid-sentence, and my eyes widened in horror as Copycat began moving through figures of different people before my eyes. She randomly appeared as Pokemon and humans, lightning fast so my eyes couldn't see clearly who the Pokemon or person was. Throughout the shape-shifting, Copycat's Mew eyes remained piercing into my soul. They grew duller by the second. She stopped at the form of her normal self. She still had the tail and the eyes. She rose from her chair and stood before me. No one can be powerful without help. She took a deep breath. "Father, I wish it didn't have to come to this." Copycat was almost pleading. "I have to. I need to." Betrayal stabbed my heart. This cannot be happening. She flinched as if she felt my emotions. "I'm sorry." Copycat's face grew dark as she said those words. The words I will always remember until this day. I was knocked into a deep sleep, only to awaken in the position I am now. A stuffed plush with a trapped soul. That was SoulTrapper. Final thoughts? Mixed. First thing I thought was that it's interesting to read a story from the perspective of someone in a Pokemon game itself. You don't see that very often, and it has the potential to be very good. It could also be mind-bogglingly stupid, but that potential is there in any story. What did I think of this story? There was some good and some bad. I'll go over the good first. I think that the idea of a girl with Mew's eyes and tails could be creepy in the dark. Not creepy like an idea that lingers in your mind like the fan speculation of Gary's Raticate, but still creepy. The problem with potentially creepy imagery is that it almost never sticks with you as much as just an idea. Again, using the example of Gary's Raticate, I'm sure all of you who have heard of the theory that Gary's Raticate died on the SSN in Red and Blue, and that that's why it's the last time he has it, and that's why the next time you see him is in Pokemon Tower, a graveyard, will always be able to remember that story, and possibly even think of it often when you play Pokemon Red and Blue and get Pokemon Tower. When you walk up to Copycat, are you really going to think of that mental image each time? Probably not. That's why creepy mental imagery isn't as strong as creepy ideas and concepts being planted into your head. It can work, just not as well. One problem I noticed early on is that the father of Copycat has knowledge that the average Pokemon fan would know, but wouldn't make sense for a character within the Pokemon universe to know. How would the father know what a Mew's eyes and tail look like? Don't most people in the Pokemon universe not even really know Mew exists? Also, the father-daughter interactions are often very odd. Why would the father refer to his own daughter as Copycat out loud when talking to her in the attic? Overall, I like the idea. The Copycat's secret to copying things being stealing their bodies and trapping their souls in a doll. That's a cool idea. The execution could probably have been done better, but it could also have been done far worse. Overall, a good story and a very quick read, but the idea itself can probably be done better. That's it for this week. Tune in again next Saturday when we do yet another creepypasta written in by one of our own from the creepypasta section of my forum. If you want to read these stories early, publish your own story, or help people peer edit their own, the link to the creepypasta section is in the description of this video. Also, to all of you who have been requesting I make a proofread send to friends shirt, you're in luck! Also in the description is a link to my Spreadshirt page, where you can now buy said shirt. I made it as dirt cheap as I could so you guys can buy the t-shirt for only $13.50 plus shipping. I only make $1 off these shirts, but I wanted to keep it as cheap as possible. If you guys want to buy my lame shirts, you should at least be getting them for cheap. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, sweet dreams.